What's happening?
Yo, 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 we are back fresh out of the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury 3 weigh-in, and I got my brother here, Dstyleboxing, and we are going to talk about this weigh-in, man. Just literally finished a couple minutes ago. And what's your first reaction? Because my reaction was wow. Like, I wasn't expecting Wilder to be that heavy.
I was not either. Just as a reminder, guys, and just really quick in their first fight, Wilder was 212 pounds. That's the fight where
Mm-hmm.
he knocked Fury down twice. Fury was 256, right? In the rematch, Wilder went up to 231, and Fury was 273. In this match, I mean, now Wilder's 238 and
Yeah,
Fury is 277. So, I mean, those are the numbers. They're both heavier than they were in any of their other fights, right? So, I guess they both feel like being strong. Maybe the inside fight is going to be a big factor in this fight.
yeah, I agree. I noticed that with the training videos with Wilder, that I saw a lot of lifting, and I figured that he was trying to bulk up and get stronger. And, he said at the end that he's looking to push Fury off of him, be strong enough to push him. He's benching like up to 350 now. And that's good. One thing I am worried about is his endurance. Like I've always said, I've always been worried about his endurance, and now I'm worried more about his speed. Hopefully, I mean, he's been training for me. He had a whole year and a half, so I'm hoping he's learned to adjust to that new size that he has. I know before he moved up specifically for that fight, but now you had a whole year and a half to work in that new weight, and hopefully, for his
Right.
sake, it works out for him.
Look, I'm going through his history. He's always been like in the 220s, mid 220s.
Hmm.
He, but again, in that Fury fight, he was 212, and that's when he knocked down Fury twice. In the Luis Ortiz rematch, he was 219, and he had that spectacular knockout.
Hmm.
I just wonder if like that extra mass, right? He might be stronger, he can lift harder, but is it making him punch harder? I don't think it is, right? Because that type of mass doesn't make you a better puncher. That's why boxers are not recommended to lift heavy.
Right. Um, I agree with you. And not only that, but punching hard wasn't ever really the issue with Deontay Wilder. It just wasn't. Lack of strength. It was more about I just made a breakdown and I just put it out today. And, I had to really dig and bring out like older fights where I seen Wilder underperform when he's fighting on his back foot, and I think a lot of that has to do why he didn't perform well in the second fight. I know a lot of people feel that it has to do with the drink, the spike
Mm.
drink, the spike water or whatever. And I don't know. I can't prove that. None of us could. Only Wilder would know that. None of us can prove that. I know there's fans that are saying it as if it's actual fact. There was no lawsuit in there. There was nothing that was exposed to the public. He just basically said, "This guy spiked my water,"
Yeah.
and then we see other guys like that's in his camp pouring water in his mouth and stuff. I don't even know how he came up. I have no idea. All I can prove is what happened in the ring. And what I've seen in the ring in previous fights is that he doesn't fight well fighting on the back foot, and he doesn't fight well when he's being pressured. Real quick, let me just answer our Project Jab. Project Jab, thank you, bro, for the donation. Project Jab says Wilder has exactly 6 rounds before the stamina goes. Well, the stamina went, and thank you for the donation. The stamina went before within the first couple of rounds in the second fight.
Hmm.
So he might not even have that, depending on, I don't know what to really expect, you know, but
Yeah.
that's my views. What do you think, D Style?
Look, I think what Wilder and Malik Scott are doing is an experiment, right? Like they're trying this new experiment. They gained weight. It looks like Malik Scott wants him to be more versatile in the ring, right? At least that's from the outside looking in. All that could be, he might go out there and just to make Fury think that. Who knows? But from the outside looking in, they want to be more versatile in the ring, right? It looks like from the drills I'm seeing, they want to work the body more. Okay. But there's actually like something inaccurate I've heard a lot was, Wilder never tried to work the body with Fury. No, go back to the second fight. He was trying to throw straight rights to the body of Fury, and he would fall off balance when he would bring his hand back, right? And then he would go straight back with his hands like this, okay? Which is why a lot of his supporters think he was drugged. No, he was off balance because after he would throw the punch, he wouldn't bring the punch back properly, and then he had like almost a 300-pound bear like going right at him, right? So exactly. That's why he looked that way. But when you go to the body, you leave yourself open upstairs, right? So he needs to have a plan with that.
Yeah.
So we're going to see how they look. They may look like geniuses afterwards. He might go out there, destroy Fury, and then say, hey, wow, it worked. It may completely fall flat on their face, right? Me, as a gambling man, as someone who looks at probabilities, I think it's more probable that it's not going to work out. You know what I mean? That I need to believe my lying eyes. I need to believe what I saw the last time. This strategy of gaining more muscle to battle Fury, it's not going to work because it's not about how strong you are. You can get the strongest bodybuilder in the world right now in a boxing ring that could be lift 10 times what Wilder can lift. He's not going to be pushing Fury around the ring. It's about leverage. It's about knowing how to position yourself in there. And that's what Wilder had to work on. Not adding extra muscle. So he added 4 more pounds from the last fight. That's it,
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's going to work and if it compromises his punching power and the speed in which he would unleash those lethal right hands, he might be in trouble. I still think he goes decision, but I think it's just going to be interesting. I'm always excited when I see fighters try something new and see if it works, right? We're going to find out, but I'm betting that no, he's not going to be able to turn it around and beat Fury in this third fight.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like I think Wilder, when it comes to weight, I think he wants to be as light and as agile as possible. The guy is going to be bigger than you, whatever way you weigh in, he's going to be bigger than you. You don't want to compromise speed. You want to be light on your feet. You want to be able to move. He was saying he wants to push Fury off of him. I'm saying don't be in a position where Fury is leaning on you. Keep popping and moving from the outside. Pick your spots, get in, work the body, do the combinations. But you don't want to really be in there wrestling with a guy that's still way bigger than you. I mean, he's even heavier now. Plus, he's coming in with the advantage here, the mental advantage, because he already knows how to beat you. He's already know, and this man believes he won the first fight. The only reason why, I watched that press conference the other day, which was very entertaining. And, Wilder responded, well, why did you change your game from the first fight to the second fight? When Fury was like, you think I cheated, you say all these allegations. Why are you changing your whole team, the way that you're fighting? And Wilder is basically saying that he changed everything. But Fury changed from the first fight to the second because he wanted to stop Wilder, because he didn't want it to go to the judges, because he felt that he got robbed, which a lot of fans believe. A lot of fans think he won on points that fight.
It's definitely different reasons, right? Like first, like Ben Davidson and Fury are still in good terms. That's number one, right? So I personally don't believe that it was done for the same reason, obviously, which is what Fury meant by, well, you're answering a question with a question, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're not really answering what I asked you. I think it would have been more it would have made more sense for Fury to have said, I changed like just answer this question really quick. Oh, because I boxed you, I felt robbed, so I wanted to knock you the fuck out. So I went to Kronk. That's why I changed my training team. Why did you change it? Right? Because I think that would have put like it would have put him on the spot. Although they didn't have a lot of time, of course. But
Yeah.
I am very. I'm skeptical, man. I'm skeptical of what they're going to do because I have nothing to go by. I have no data. I don't know how Malik Scott's going to do as a head trainer. And then his first fight as a head trainer with the heavyweight championship of the world on the line. Wilder has not won a fight between the two. I don't know what the game plan is. I thought they were going to try to be more agile, like from what I saw. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they're heavier this time.
I don't know neither because they haven't fought in 19 months. Neither one of them. You know, Fury is going with the original game plan from the second fight. So that makes sense. Fury, in my opinion, not my opinion, but it's a fact that Fury has not lost to this man. All right. Fury has been able to outbox Wilder and stop Wilder. Yes. So logically, it doesn't matter how I feel. Like I can feel a lot of things. Like I feel like, I don't know. I have this strange feeling that Wilder's going to take this one. And I've been thinking that in my head for months. I just feel, I don't know. I can't explain it. I feel that Wilder's going to catch him.
Like the universe is talking to you. Like,
yeah. But I felt that way the first two fights.
I did too.
I feel like the 12th round in the first fight, what happened that round, I felt like that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that before the fight. I feel that. But logically, I know how to separate the two. I'm like, Fury has like nearly every advantage in this situation here.
Yeah.
You know, and this is why I am picking him to win the fight. It's not about who I like better or what I feel. It's about, I seen them fight twice already. And in both fights, I felt like this guy was a better fighter. It's that simple. Baba, thank you for the donation. Wilder's small body may take a bigger pounding this time around. He may have to go for broke early on. I agree with that. I think the best of Wilder is going to be earlier in this fight and not later. You know, because he's going to show the opportunity to learn whatever or show us whatever he's been doing in the last year and a half. You know. How long can he sustain it though?
Look, I felt like I know what you're talking about because even like immediately after, this is before Glovegate and any of the conspiracy theories, like immediately after the rematch, right? I saw that fight and I was already kind of like, oh man, Wilder messed up right here. If he could go back to this. And I was already kind of like, you know, analyzing it and saying to myself, like, and I still feel it's true, like, he was hurt in the third and he never recovered, right? So I don't really take for rounds 4 to 7 to me. That just wasn't Wilder anymore, right? Like he wasn't the same, right? Mm-hmm. But I remember him landing a couple right hands in a rematch early.
He did,
right?
Yeah, he did.
And it's like it's not like Fury was unhittable, right? So if Fury doesn't hurt him and drop him, for how long are those right hands landing? You know, and it's like a game of Russian roulette. Like at some point, the bullet's going to come off the chamber right in your head. Like, it's just the way it is. Maybe Fury's defense is so good, there's a lot of chambers, but still there's always that chance that that bullet falls where it falls, right? Mm-hmm. And I think this is true about punchers in general. Like, I think that this explains why, even though we saw with our eyes Tyson lose to Douglas, right, he was still going to be a favorite against Holyfield, right? He was still a favorite against Holyfield in 96. Like, you know, when we had every reason to know that, you know, Tyson isn't the same once guys stand up to him. We had every reason to know that. But we remembered the Dynamite Kid. We remember that we saw him knock dudes out. You know, like we know that's possible.
He said this in interviews, by the way. Yeah. Mike Tyson himself, of how much fear, sorry to cut you off, but how much fear he's had going against certain guys like those guys he lost to, you know. Everything
like I do have visions of like like Tyson Fury laid out. Like, if you know what I mean. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I could envision it. You know, I could see it. And I'll tell you right now, I'm picking Fury to win by decision, right? But it's not a confident pick. And it's not because I haven't gotten any of the fights right. None of them. Like, you know what I mean? I never got in the Tyson Fury fight right. You know what I mean? There's something about Fury that I never pick him for whatever reason. And this time I'm picking him, and I have like this feeling like, well, now he might lose because I picked him, right?
You're right. Me too, man. I'm with you. I'd never picked the Tyson Fury fight, right?
Yeah. Outside of, I mean, obviously, like Otto Wallen, and of course, I'm talking about Klitschko.
Talking about Klitschko and Wilder. Always
Klitschko,
been
Wilder. I had Hay beating him. The fight never happened, but I thought Hay was going to beat him, you know, because I would look at him. He looked clumsy to me. I thought Hay at some point was going to land that big shot. The Cunningham fight was still in my head, right? And I'm like, oh, if Hay caught him with that, it's over, right? In hindsight, he would have beaten Hay, right? So it is what it is. But
yeah, Justin G, thank you for the donation. Man, if Wilder loses again after all these accusations, he's going to need to find a cave to hide in. I don't really think so. You know, it's just all right. So this is another thing too when it comes to the accusations, right? Mm-hmm. Just like Fury asked him, like, why are you changing so much if you really feel that these accusations are true? And I think certain accusations, like he felt like he wasn't right going into the fight. The costume was heavy. That was the first thing we heard, or that was the first thing that was reported that he said. Then when YouTube took over, because YouTube basically took that over and made a million accusations, I think at that point he had he disappeared for a while. He didn't say anything. And then there was a point where he addressed the accusations and he basically stood by those accusations. If those accusations never came up by people on social media, I don't think he would have been pressing all of that stuff. Yes, the Spike Water thing. Okay, maybe you complain about the you know, and I think it wasn't just the Spike Water. I think it's because he's really pissed off that Mark threw in the towel. I think that's what, I mean, I don't know this, but I'm just saying this. But I honestly believe that as much as things are said, and I know it makes it look like he is delusional, these guys are aware that something needs to change. And that's the reason why they're changing it. Now, would it be the right kind of change? I don't think it's going to be enough. I don't think that. I'm not confident either. But these guys are fully aware that something needs to change, you know, and this is why they're doing so much to work towards this, you know, this trilogy fight here. Roland Curtis, thank you for the donation. If Fury felt that training with Ben Davison would lead to another decision, then changing to Silk Sugar Hill makes sense. If Wilder believes Watergate and Glovegate, then changing to Scott makes no sense. Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great comment.
Okay, you know, I agree with that. Good comment, actually. Comment.
It's a very good comment, and it's all about making sense here. Like, we can feel a way, but we have to learn how to separate and just look at things. Like, I'll do a breakdown talking about what I'm seeing in the ring. I'm not going to talk about. There are people that leave comments as like, yeah, but Fury cheated. And that's it. They have nothing to follow up with anything else. It's like, we're only getting a third fight specifically because Fury cheated. And that's it.
I will say, you know, one thing that's always been in the back of my mind is this. The more chances you give a power puncher like Wilder, right? The more likely it is he's going to knock you out. Like, the more rounds you fight him, right, it becomes more likely that he knocks you out. Like, if you think about it, right, you fight him round after round after round, the likeliness of him landing that perfect shot only goes up. It becomes more likely, not less likely, right? So, and because of that, first of all, I think that's why a lot of people are giving him a hell of a shot here. But second, that could explain why it's actually better to go at him, right? Because the chances of him catching and knocking you out are gone if you stop him, right? Mm-hmm. You stop him, he can't do anything to you anymore. There's no better defense than the fight's over and that's it. You know what I mean? That's the best defense, right? You're not gonna do it out in the 7th round, or stop him right in the 7th round, like Fury did from rounds 8 to 12. He got hit 0% of the time. You know, like that is the best defense. Not gonna do it out, right? So I just think that's probably another reason why Fury switched training camps. I mean, just think about this. Remember the Luis Ortiz fight? Like, maybe Luis Ortiz would have had a better shot if he wasn't so conservative throughout the whole fight. He was trying to pitch the perfect game against Wilder, right? And then he got caught and he went to sleep. You know what I mean? And I don't know if trying to pitch the perfect game is, just think about it, even in baseball, it's harder to pitch a perfect game and beat the opponent 1-0, right? Than it is to just score a shitload of home runs on them, right? Just run up the score. You know, in boxing, the equivalent is just knocking them out. I think that's why he went to Sugar Hill. It was just a matter of like, look, I can't, even if I do outbox this guy, I mean, he dropped me twice. He almost had me out of there in the 12th. I can't be like just trying to have a perfect fight with this guy, you know? Because he just, you know, his power is freak, bro. But I want to ask you this, though. What do you make of the people saying that Wilder has no shot? Because I'm hearing it a lot. Oh, he's done. He's figured out. He don't have a shot.
Yeah, well, those people are just as delusional, because we can't forget what happened in the first fight.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have to address Wilder's power. We already know that's a real thing. But we can't forget that if that referee was a different referee that night, he might have just waved it off. You know, I mean, we've seen video from up top that shows Fury just laying there with his eyes like, and we're like, oh yeah, it's done. I remember watching it live, and I remember like, oh, it's over. This is exactly what I was expecting. I knew Fury was going to outbox him, but that's the punch that Wilder was looking for all night long. It was the 12th round, and he caught him finally. And you can't just dismiss that. I understand what happened in the rematch, and I know Fury destroyed him in a rematch, but Wilder still is Deontay Wilder, you know, and you just never you can't just completely count him out. You can't. This is what makes this fight so hard to call. I am not confident in my pick at all, even after 2 fights. So I agree, you know, the people that are just saying like, well, Wilder doesn't have a chance. No, I think the logical pick for me is Fury, but Wilder has a great chance of winning. A lot of us didn't think Usyk would beat Joshua a couple weeks ago. You know?
Yeah.
You know, people are like saying, I mean, I picked Joshua, but it was another unconfident pick because I knew exactly what Usyk brought to the table. And I was like, listen, you can't base it. My main point was you cannot base it simply off Derek Chisora. Derek Chisora does not fight like AJ. Derek Chisora does not care. He was going in there, I'm going to just beat you up because you're a smaller guy. Joshua is fighting a cautious fight against a smaller guy who was outboxing him. And we all knew he was a better boxer than Joshua. But we felt like the size was going to play a role in this, and it didn't. Joshua made it an even fight going in there.
Bad strategy for sure, you know. But again, I think that's the first time in Joshua's professional career where he stepped into the ring with the guy that was a superior overall boxer, right? He is used to be the most skilled guy in the ring with everyone he's fought, right? You can make an argument about Klitschko, but Klitschko was up there in age, right? So, you know, and I don't think Joshua was ready for that, you know. And I think Joshua started out by trying to prove a point, and then it just got away from him, you know. Like he was trying to come back in the middle rounds, and it was just too late, you know, because Usyk's stamina is crazy, you know. But in this fight, like I want to read this comment by, and look, no one's like right or wrong here. It's all really theory, you know, but he says the chances of him to get the knockout goes down with every round because the superior boxer figures out his tendencies. Well, the only reason I'll disagree with that is this. While it is true that a master boxer figures out his opponent, that is true, right? He could get him to the point where he neutralizes them. Here's the problem with that. In the heavyweight division, right? Like all punches are dangerous, like all of them almost, right?
Yeah.
Even if you get a master boxer like Mayweather, you know, like when they say, man, Mayweather was only hit with 20% of the shots, right? Yeah, like at heavyweight with a guy like Wilder, if he's hitting you 20% of the time, that's not good. Okay. So while you could get the percentage down of how many times they hit you, you're still giving him more opportunities as the rounds go on. And my best proof is the following. One, he was still hitting him with the right hand before he knocked him down right in the third round. He was still hitting him. And then in the rematch, he knocked him down later in the fight when it looked like Fury was getting more comfortable and figuring him out more. Like he still happened to get that right hand in.
Yeah.
So he knocked him down in the 12th, you know? And I don't know, man. I don't know if sometimes I wonder if like the Glovegate conspiracy theorists and like the hardcore, like not all, just a very hardcore like Wilder fan base,
Yeah.
you know, is I don't know if like that aspect of it, and also the hardcore Fury fans that think he doesn't have a shot. I don't know if they're like subconsciously making me think of the knockout, right? Like it's kind of like, no, I think it is possible. Like maybe I'm overthinking it because logic tells me Fury should win, right? But I'm still getting these. I still envision these things where I see him knocking Fury out, right? I still like see it in my head.
I don't. I mean, I have a lot of Wilder support. You know, a lot of people on the boxing community just think like I'm this Wilder hater, and what it is just I feel like he represents us, like he's our champion. So I go harder on him because I feel like when he's not representing correctly, I get pissed off. You know, so if he says something ridiculous in an interview or whatever, I say what I have to say. Now, a lot of his supporters still follow me, you know, and they leave comments. They're subscribers, longtime subscribers. They hit me on Twitter. They're still like, we disagree, but they still have respect because they still want to hear my reasoning behind, you know, why I'm against Wilder in a specific fight or a specific thing that they're going to do. They're hardcore fans. His hardcore fans, some of them are hardcore, but they still understand, like, yeah, Wilder doesn't box that well, where the hardcore fans just think he can do anything, like he can walk on water, like he's not above, he's above criticism, you know, he's one of those guys. So there's a difference between the both. I think a lot of it too is that Wilder has power, and there's nothing. We saw what happened in that first fight. The one thing, though, that neither one of us has brought up, though, that we got to remember, too, is that Fury was a bit rusty in that first fight. You know, we can't just, the strategy was different, obviously. He was trying to outbox Wilder. He wasn't trying to knock out Wilder.
Right.
But he was just getting back in the mix. He came back 2 times for 2 fights. He's still shaking off the weight. And you know, he didn't look that good in those 2 fights. That's not the Fury when he came back those 2 fights, Sefer Safari and the other guy. I remember like thinking like, that's not quite Tyson Fury. That's not the Fury that I remember beating Klitschko, or the Fury that I remember beating Chisora in the rematch, which were like 2 of his most recent fights before he retired. Right. So, you know, you got to take that into, you know, and you got to put that out there. If Fury was at his very best, would we have even gotten the fight?
I don't,
you know,
right.
You know,
no,
we don't,
right.
I don't know. I'm not saying we wouldn't get the fight, but I know we weren't going to get the fight right away when Wilder beat Spilka in Brooklyn and Fury confronted him in Brooklyn. You know, now I know at that time Wilder had the the mandatory fight with Povetkin that didn't happen. But you know, when Fury stepped in that ring, he came to New York and faced him. He wanted the fight. You know, I beat Klitschko. I want you next, punk. And he's talking trash to him in Brooklyn. You know.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting elements to this fight, man. Like I am really really fascinated by like the whole like because even Fury will say the story right where he said he saw a video on YouTube where Wilder was like, "Oh, I saw him. He's a fat slob. He ain't coming back." Like even Wilder was saying he don't see him coming back, right? And
Mhm.
look, I have videos still up today saying this guy's done. Like I saw because I saw the same footage everybody else did, and I said I don't think this guy will ever compete at a high level in boxing ever again. Well, I was wrong, right? That's another time I bet against Fury, right? For whatever reason. But I think there is something to be said about punchers. And when we look back, bro, honestly, like one does wonder, right? Like many thought that there's no way this Cassius Clay is going to beat Sonny Liston. Sonny Liston is a monster. He
Right.
just knocked out, Floyd Patterson in the first round, back to
Yeah.
back. Ain't nobody
Yeah.
could withstand this monster, and he beat him, right?
Mhm.
And it's funny because every time a puncher's beat, it's always followed by conspiracy theory, right? Right, like the Phantom Punch, and how did he beat him? Like that doesn't make sense. But one point I wanted to bring up regarding excuses is a lot of people think this is like unique, like the excuses from Wilder, but they're really not. Like he's not the first guy to accuse his team of drugging him or something. George Foreman actually did it after the fight with Ali, Rumble in the Jungle. He accused his trainer of drugging him. Now, what George Foreman did not have was an apparatus called social media and YouTube, right? Where not just reporters, but anybody could grab a camera,
Right.
talk on camera and talk about it. Just imagine imagine the Phantom Punch and how much legs it would have gotten if there was YouTube, right?
Mhm.
Right. Imagine, after the, Rumble in the Jungle, Foreman comes out and says, he didn't feel good. And then he's got supporters on YouTube, right? The Foreman Knights, coming out saying that they were, oh yeah, he was drugged. He wasn't the same. I mean, it would be a completely different like atmosphere. You know what I mean? It's just that
Right.
now we have social media. That's what we have.
Yeah.
So anything a fighter says will blow up immediately now, right? Now, in this case, it was the other way around. It was the YouTubers that started the conspiracy theory, and the fighter adopted it. Whether does Wilder believe it or not, I have no idea. I have a friend that told me that it's kind of like the Jordan effect. Jordan will make up stories to like want to beat somebody, to get a fire under him. Maybe that's what Wilder's doing. I don't know, right? But I don't know if he believes it or not. But I want to ask you this: after the fight, regardless of who wins, will they embrace each other after the fight?
I think so. I think
Think
so.
so?
I actually thought about this yesterday because I was watching some of the first fight the other day, and they embraced each other.
Right?
They had a lot of respect for each other going into the first fight. There was an interview, they were sitting on the same couch in a small room talking to each other. Like I think it was like the first presser they had. And then after the first fight, yeah, Fury felt like he did enough to win, but they embraced each other after the first fight. You know, you can even tell, like when I heard some interviews with him where they actually spoke, and he was like, "I'm giving you the opportunity." When Wilder, like when I made a video about that, but Wilder gave him an opportunity, and I felt like he treated Fury like it was like a brotherly thing type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And then even after the second fight, they still embraced each other. I think Wilder was more upset at his coach. He wasn't upset with Fury. He was
Right.
upset at everything else but Fury. Fury embraced him still. Fury tried to go over to his corner, and they were blocking him for a while. But there was a point that they did embrace each other, and I think they will again. I think all of this stuff, uh, partly it does sell the fight. It gives people a belief that there's a chance that Wilder could have won. you know, if you believe these allegations, maybe not all of them, but even maybe one or two of them, you believe there's a chance that Wilder can still do better. And if you attach these allegations with this training videos that we're seeing, the fact that he's switched his camp a little bit, you know, and made Malik Scott his head trainer, you know, he's building muscle and he's bigger. If you believe all of this, then there's a chance that Wilder has a chance. And this is why a lot of us are still like, I'm not really sure. Like, I think Fury's going to win, but I'm not really sure. And there's other people out there that's like, now Wilder's going to get him this time, you know? I do want to respond, though, to a comment I read here by Hal Smith. And I've read a few comments like this over, you know, the past year or so. And, you know, he says Fury has a history of cheating, though. I think that's why people run with the cheating allegations. Well, this is the thing, right? When it comes to the cheating allegations, first of all, the other original fight, I can't remember who the opponent was, where there's a video before the fight, ref checks his gloves. There's some issue with the gloves, and, you know, the fight was stopped or they had to be replaced or something like that. Something was wrong with the gloves. People have brought that up after the Glovegate situation. And then people went back and brought up the wild boar meat thing that came up again, and how he failed a drug test and stuff like that. Listen, all of this stuff happened and occurred before the first time Wilder fought him. Yep. You know, and I've said this before, Wilder did not have to give Fury the opportunity. I said this before, you know, whatever side you're on when it comes to Wilder and Joshua on why that fight didn't happen, there was an offer made to Wilder first. He turned it down. Then there was an offer made to Joshua, 50 million email thing that he turned down. And then there was a DAZN offer that Wilder turned down. Regardless of where you're going with this, at the end of the day, did both sides do the most that they can to make that fight happen? You know, at the end of the day, these two fighters had all of the titles. They didn't have to fight Fury. Now, Fury is lineal, yes, but Fury was just getting back into the game. Fury was not hot. He lost his confidence. He wasn't, you know, hot at the moment. He lost. He like disappeared. You didn't have to give him the opportunity. That's the guy that had glove issues and cheating and failed drug tests. He didn't have to give him the opportunity. Wilder gave him the opportunity. He gave Luis Ortiz the opportunity after he failed before. He failed before when he was with Golden Boy. He failed a drug test. I remember that fight. He failed that test before and he was suspended. And then there was the high blood pressure thing with, I don't know if that was the first or the second fight, but there was something with that, and he still gave Luis Ortiz 2 opportunities.
So, which you never hear about that anymore, by the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When a lot of Wilder fans bring up, and again, I want to clarify, I'm not putting all Wilder fans in the same, you know what I mean? But the ones that do say this say, you know, oh, look, he fought Luis Ortiz, one of the most dangerous fighters. Nobody else wanted to fight Luis Ortiz. Like, they don't call him a cheater. Like, they don't say, man, that guy's a cheater. You know why? Because Wilder won those fights. That's why.
Yes.
It's kind of like every time I hear, well, he gave him the opportunity. Like, bro, like, it's true that he gave him an opportunity, right? He did. Now, Fury gave him opportunity too. Like, he gave him a legitimate name on his record. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a two-way street, right? But my thing is, it comes off as like he owes Wilder something. You know what I mean? Oh, you owe him some. You know, how dare you beat him? Like it's kind of like, what do you mean? Like, you know, and it's like that whole, like, you know, stab you from behind story. You know, you know, like that story of like the snake that's you know, that needs your help or something. There's many scenarios of it, right? A snake asking you to let them in their house, snakes, right? Like in the snake say, let me in, and oh, you're such a good person, so you let the snake in, and then the snake bites you, and you ask, why did you bite me? Well, I'm a snake, right? It's like it reminds you of that story, and that's how they're telling the story, right? It's like, oh, he tried to be a nice person to help Fury, and then Fury stabbed him in the back. Like it sounds like a good Hollywood movie. Like, you know what I mean? But is that really what happened? No. Like if Wilder went in there and smashed Fury in the rematch and knocked him out the way I thought he was going to do it, right? If he would have done that, there'll be no videos about his cheating. There will be no glove gate. Like nobody would give a fuck about the floppy glove. Nobody would care about any of that. Nobody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It only matters because he lost. And once he lost, right, all the excuses came out. Right? That's just how it went. Even if you believe Glovegate, even if you believe it, nobody was talking about it until he lost. Okay? Nobody cared about a floppy glove until he lost. That's the only time people cared. Right? Oh, but the floppy glove was from the first fight. I don't care. Cheating is cheating. He's a cheater. And if he cheated before, I won't put it past him. He must have cheated in this fight. He's a thief, right? And I get it to a certain degree. Like if somebody was in my house and he's been arrested for burglary before and something in my house disappears, it's only natural, right, to be like, did that motherfucker steal it, right? But if I don't have proof, can I accuse him of it? No. Right? I can speculate or whatever you want, but I can't, you know what I mean? And in this case, there's just no proof. I don't see any proof.
But it's still fact to these hardcore fans. You know, it's still fact. It's a fact.
It's their fact.
It's their fact. Oh, that's the times we're in. It's not the truth anymore. It's my truth, or it's their truth, or it's your truth. It's like, no, it's only one truth. It's easily the truth.
Well, it's two things, right? Yeah. If I would ask them, well, if Fury was taken to court, would you find him guilty? A lot of them would say yes, right? But here's a problem. You wouldn't even be on the jury. Okay? You wouldn't even be allowed on a jury because they would have record of you always accusing Fury of cheating, already being convinced that he cheated, right? And that you're a big Wilder fan. You wouldn't even be allowed in the jury. Okay, so we have to think objectively, right? That's what we have to do. Now, unfortunately, Wave, and here's a reality that we may face. If Wilder goes in there and knocks out Fury, right, that is going to give confirmation, right? Because it's trial by combat. I don't know if you ever saw that Game of Thrones, right? So this is trial by combat, according to some, right? I hope they keep the same energy, though. Like if Fury, if we need to deal with the reality that they're going to be convinced, I'm sure they're going to come on all my videos where I was trying to debunk Glovegate and just giving my opinion on it. Aha, you see, Fury got knocked out. That's proof, right? I'm sure it's going to happen. I just hope the same energy applies the other way around, which I know it's not.
It's not going to.
If Fury wins, then are you going to drop it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It never happens. I already thought about that again. You know, if Wilder is a win, especially by knockout, you know, people are going to say, "See, I told you." You know, this is because they checked the gloves and they got everything right this time. You know, this is because he didn't have Mark Breland in his corner to throw in the towel or to spike his water. This is because they. You know, this is because they checked Fury's gloves this time around. They made sure Malik Scott was in there to check his glove. They're going to say this kind of stuff, you know. They're going to say that the ref was different. I don't know, anything that can affect the fight.
It just sounds like I know we're already in this crazy time, right? Where all these crazy allegations are being made. I just feel like that's too crazy. Like even the conspiracy theorists that believe in it, would they really have the audacity to now start blaming Malik Scott, like start blaming like JD's now and whoever else is in the camp, right? I don't know. I don't know if they will.
I don't know. I mean, if Fury wins the fight, if he actually wins, and if he like stops Wilder again, it doesn't matter because I believe one or two things. I think a lot of the people that believe what they believed already, like I already received comments from people that said like Fury's gonna find a way to cheat again. So people already have it in their mind that Fury cannot beat Wilder fairly, period.
No matter
Ever.
what.
No matter what. I just leave those people alone. It's just like, all right, whatever. Like, I again, I'm been consistent. I'm talking about what's happening in the ring, you know, because you know, I was listening to Wilder the other day, and he was saying like, you know, how he has his people around him, you know, his team, the people that supports him, you know, and that's all good. But just like I said before, you're the only person that's in the ring that night. All these people that's sitting here that's just trying to, you know, and a lot of these people are yes, man. Let's be real about it. Like a lot of people want to be close to him. You know, they just want to be in the position. They want to be in that space. I don't blame them. It could be financial gain. It could be for whatever. Just because they're a fan. Like I just want you to be around me. You know,
maybe they just genuinely feel he's like a heroic figure. Like maybe they just feel that way. You know,
it could be for anything. It could be for anything. You know, one point I forgot to mention too before when we was talking about AJ is, you know, as far as cheating allegations, Fury, Ortiz, right? Ortiz, we forgot about Ortiz because Ortiz was a win. Right. Fury is not. But again, AJ never had any kind of cheating allegations, and he's never tested dirty.
They accused him of it though. But
accusing him and just they accuse a lot of people.
I remember Juicy J, and they already had nicknames for him, right? Even though he never tested positive.
Yeah, but you know what? The other guy still got an opportunity. That's my point. You know, the other guys got it for him. You know, and for less money. You know, and I just never understood that.
Well, you know that saying. Sometimes people like no one ever admits outright the truth if it's inconvenient, right? Unless they're confessing finally, right? But sometimes people tell on themselves, right? So remember when Wilder released that video, that dramatic one with the piano, and remember that? Like
I do remember seeing him on a piano. Oh yeah, I did. I can't remember what he said.
He literally said, I gave you an opportunity. I was offered more money to fight Anthony Joshua, but I gave that up to help you. Like,
I remember
wait a minute. Like, I remember I heard that.
Yeah. That went viral a little bit. A lot of people posted that. Yeah, I remember that.
And like, wait a minute, you just told on yourself, bro. I know, because he was so focused on Fury, right? And try to like kind of shame Fury for being such a bad person and betraying him, that he completely forgot that, remember when you were saying that you were going to make more money fighting Fury than AJ? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you got to be careful with what you say now, you know? So yeah, it's.
And he said that, and no one challenged that. I mean, from people that you got to be very careful what you post. The people that do support him,
right? Of course,
you can't post and call that out because you're gonna lose your, you know, friendship or whatever it is you have.
You know what's funny, Wave? Like I know, like he's publicly talked about it, but look, I'm not going to mention the YouTuber's name because he had a lot of drama behind the scenes. But he's a big channel on here, right? And he's a big Wilder supporter. I actually went to Wilder camps, right? But because he questioned him about Glovegate, just stopped all communications with him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like. So you're right. Like you do have to kind of, you know, when Wilder says, when Wilder says, I don't want to talk to the media because they lie about me, they mock me, he's very general about it, right? Now, let me say this outright. There are media members that don't like Wilder and never liked Wilder, okay? Like that goes without saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's not all of them, though. Like, that's not, like, Christina Pancho is not part of that group. You know what I mean? Christina Pancha isn't one of those reporters that was lying about you at any point or making fun of you when you lost. Because I do feel a lot of reporters. It's one thing if we fans do it, but a lot of reporters were kicking Wilder when he was down. Okay, after he lost the second fight, they really were, right? And to me, I think reporters need to be a little above that, and they weren't, right? But you know, it's he's got this me against the world, and whoever doesn't, you know, follow me, right, is my enemy. Like, it doesn't even matter if you still think I'm a great fighter and that I'm going to be Fury. If you don't believe me when I say I was drugged and that this motherfucker cheated, you're not on my side, right? Like, it's like that extra layer. I never seen anything like it. It's kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
But.
Yusuf, thank you for the donation, and thank you for the donation earlier. I did see that. I'm not for any controversy. I'm a Wilder fan, but I believe he lost fair and square. And there's a lot of people that feel that way. You know, there's a lot of people that feel that way. And this is what I was trying to say earlier. You know, there are hardcore Wilder fans that feel that way, you know, but they still, you know, they're still going to hold him down. They still going to support him. They're still going to be behind him. And they want him to win. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, yeah. I think one of the comments I read earlier is like right away, oh, so you're supporting a cheater. And I'm like, I'm not supporting. I don't support Tyson Fury. It's a prediction.
I don't think I ever seen it with Gypsy King Gear or anything, but, you know, it's me.
Yeah, it's a prediction. I'm not supporting Tyson Fury. I am picking him.
I know what you mean.
Because I think logically he's going to win. And I explained it both by addressing, you know, the styles and what the strategy and tactics that could be used in the rings, but also based on what we've already seen. This is not the first fight where I picked Wilder to win.
A lot of people,
Wilder, I picked him again.
They have a hard time discerning, like separating the two. Like, I still remember when I did my Pacquiao Marquez prediction for the fourth fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll admit I picked Pacquiao to win, like a lot of people did, right? And but I remember in my prediction video I said I think Pacquiao's going to win, but I hope Marquez wins, right? That's who I'm going to cheer for. I hope he wins, right?
Yeah, it's a difference. People don't know.
Like, no, you liar! You said you're going for Pacquiao. Like, I didn't say I'm going for him. I didn't say I support him in the fight. That is right. I'm literally saying, like, my head and my analysis saying this guy's more likely to win. Now I get I was wrong about that, but I was actually happy to be wrong. That's another thing people can't understand. Like, I predicted fights.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And I'm wrong, but I'm happy because I actually wanted that result. Like, when Andy Ruiz won, I didn't predict him to win. I picked Joshua to win, right?
Yeah.
But when Andy Ruiz won the heavyweight championship of the world, I was really, really happy, right? You know, Mexican descent, you know, first ever. Like, it was like a proud moment, right? But I still remember, like, people were like, no, you didn't support him. You're a fake supporter. You picked Joshua. Like, I predicted him to win a boxing fight. But it doesn't, like, it's like, I still got like the haha, you were wrong. Like,
yeah.
But I'm glad I was wrong. But they don't get it. You know, I don't know.
It's too, people are just too much into their feelings, man. They're especially in this sport, but in general too. But, you know, in this sport, it just shows, you know, it's like right in your face. I can support Wilder. I don't think he's gonna win this one. You know, that's it. I'm sure I've supported Wilder a lot more than a lot of these people that are leaving these kind of comments. Like, I've been to 3 of his fights. You know,
that's more support. Yeah,
I've been to 3 of his fights, and I must have paid for every pay-per-view he had. I didn't stream one of his pay-per-views. I paid for every single one.
Yeah.
You know, and I can't say the same for these guys that claim they support him. I can't say it. I mean, listen, you don't have to do that in order to support him. You know, some people can't afford to go to the fights or pay for these pay-per-views. So they just support him in the way that they choose to support him. But I haven't gone to a Tyson Fury fight. You know, I went to an AJ fight when he was here. I tried to go to a fight in London for him, so I support him too. I support who I said I pay for the people that I want to see fight. You know, but
Yeah.
I have to act like I'm not gonna. That doesn't mean that I'm gonna sit here and co-sign every single thing Wilder says or does. That's not how that works. You know, if that was my friend, I have real friendships with people. They call me, I call them when we have an issue, and I want to get, you know, hey, I have an issue with this. How do you feel about it? You know why? Because I want to get someone that's going to tell me how it is.
Right.
Some people actually just like it better when you tell them what they want to hear, and
I don't know
just
if
co-sign everything.
I don't know
And he
Wilder
strikes
was.
me as one of those people.
Look, I don't know if Wilder was always like this or not. I have no idea, right? But like, let me make one thing very clear, right? I might be one of the few YouTubers that actually didn't have a problem with him firing Mark Breland, right? Because one, a fighter could do what they want; it's their training camp, right?
Yeah.
So that's number one. But second, like, if they made a pact, as silly as I think the pact is, like, I don't think a fighter should be allowed to have a pact or none of that. But if that's what he wanted, and they had an agreement that you're not going to throw in the towel, then as a trainer, right, you should already know the consequences of that, right? There's an old saying, when you try to help a friend that needs help, it's like you got to be willing to lose a friendship to save a friend, right? A real friend will do that. Like, they'll lose your friendship if it means saving your life. Like I lost his friendship, but I saved him, right? And maybe somewhere down the line he'll understand. Who knows, right? But like, so I get all that, right? But acknowledging all that, I didn't even have a problem in the press conference when he said, "Hey, look, when the boss tells the employee to not throw in the towel, and he does, then the boss fires the employee," right? He said something like that. Okay, like, if you don't follow the order, then okay, I don't have a problem with that. But I saw an interview where he literally said this, and it just sounded narcissistic as fuck. Okay, he goes, "And I don't want to talk about that traitor, because how dare he throw the towel in on a king like me?" Like whoa, wait a minute, like, what do you mean? That was just a little too much for me, you know?
Yeah.
And look, any man, speaking of Game of Thrones, that needs to keep saying, "I am the king," is no king, okay? It's, you can't just keep saying it over and over again, because it seems like you're trying to convince somebody of something, you know. But
right.
But
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I'm not. It's like, you know, when people go through bad breakups or divorces or whatever, you don't need to drag your now ex-partner through the mud.
right.
You know, like, it didn't work. So what? Okay, you know, relationships don't work, friendships don't work, you know, business partners don't work, whatever. You don't have to drag them through the mud. Certain
Yeah,
things
but
don't need to be said. Thank you,
let me
Neil
ask you this.
Conway, by the way. I
Oh,
appreciate the donation. Certain things don't need to be said, man. And, you know, like, I'm really surprised. I think a lot of us said that. I'm surprised that I'm surprised he didn't try to, like, sue, like, Deontay Wilder, just because of the whole defamation thing, you know. I mean, that's none of my business. Like, me, I personally don't care, but I was surprised he didn't, you know.
I'm surprised too.
I didn't
Like,
make a lot of content last year because that's the only thing that everyone was talking about, and I
and there
just
was a
didn't care.
lawsuit. None of us know about it, but
I don't care about that stuff, man. I'd rather talk about an actual fight. I don't like. I made videos about, like, I found a video that I did last year that was talking about, like, potential opponents to prepare for Fury 3. Like, I made videos about that. No one cared. People were talking about the cheating stuff. Mark Breland.
speaking of the fight, one thing that very few people are talking about is the bicep tear that he suffered and he had surgery for, which originally postponed the first rematch, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that could potentially be a factor in his fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The fight stress and in there throwing punches, especially try to kind of, like, think about what he said. I gained all this weight so I could push him off of me, right? This is a 277-pound man. 277 pounds pushing it constantly is tiring as it is, right? Now imagine pushing it with his force coming at you as well, right? That's probably 400 or 500 pounds of pressure constantly that you're going to be pushing off, right? Plus you're punching. He might tear it again, bro. Like he might suffer another tear in this fight. And usually when you already suffer tears, it happens again, especially you had surgery for it. Usually these surgeries are 50-50. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Another thing I was worried, I'm glad you brought that up. Another thing that I was concerned about going into this fight is the random things that can happen in a boxing match that can ruin everything.
Oh,
like a headbutt or a cut or some kind of
or
injury.
a dude falling from the ceiling like a fan man, bro.
Yeah. Someone injuring their hand, it could be anything.
Twisted ankle.
I mean, it could be anything, we want, all I want, I don't care who wins. I don't care who wins. All I want is the outcome to be clear and fair. Like if it goes to the scorecards, I hope we don't get none of those 117, 111s when it's more clear. Right. Unless it's really a 117, 111, Right. I don't want to get one of those one judges in there that's just completely wide from the other two. Or, if there's a stoppage, I want it to be a legit. Obviously, we know Team Wilder will not be throwing in the towel under no circumstances. No matter how bad he's getting beaten, he won't be throwing the towel. Oh, you know what? Speaking on that, do you believe that these guys could have continued the fight? Do you think the towel was thrown too early?
I don't. And I remember being mad at Bayless when I was watching that fight. You know what I mean? Like I remember, you guys got to keep it. This is before glove game, during the fight, right? Bro, I was a Wilder fan, bro. And I still kind of am. Like I still think the old Bronze Bomber is there somewhere. You know what I mean? Yeah. But like, I was honestly thinking to myself, like, they're going to ruin this guy's career. Like, what are we doing here? The fight, it started to get uncomfortable. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's to the point. I was like, okay, this is getting uncomfortable. Like, I remember getting mad at Fury when he did that tongue thing, like with the blood, and I'm like, okay, like at this point, this is not even a contest anymore. He's not all there. Like, come on, bro, right? I thought there was better points that could have stopped the fight. Unfortunately,
that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say the exact thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, he stopped it when Wilder landed a punch. Like,
yeah, and Wilder was throwing in the middle of throwing a punch when he jumped in. I was gonna say the exact same thing. It was definitely a beatdown. I'm not mad at the stoppage overall, but if you let it continue at that point, I don't think at that moment it needed to be stopped.
Right.
And I hate to say that too, because Wilder had a real bad injury. Like his head, he was really bleeding out his ear.
And his bicep was torn, bro.
Yeah, and his coach, Mark Breland, was telling him, like, yo, you're bleeding from your ear. Like, I just want to make sure you're okay. You can read the words coming out of his mouth. You can't hear him, but you know exactly what he's saying. And I'm like, damn, this is like one of those situations where
it was a cut, right? But like,
yeah,
I think he thought, like all of us thought, that it was an internal ear bleed. Right?
Yeah.
That's what all of us thought. And the thing is this, like, I still think his equilibrium was clearly off after that first knockdown. There's no doubt.
Yeah,
right?
Me too. That did it. He was off. He never recovered from that punch.
So
that was a hard shot,
like,
man.
What's with, like, here's what doesn't make sense to me. You say you didn't feel good going into the fight. You say you were drugged, right? From round one. But you also say that it shouldn't have been stopped because you were about to take over. I mean, that's basically what he said in an interview once. Oh, they knew I was about to take over. And this, he said some derogatory things about Bayless. Oh, he protected him. He stopped the fight. They knew I was about to take over. So What are you saying that the drug was wearing off? Like what are you like? What like did Fury beat the drug out of you? Like what happened exactly then? You know, because you were looking worse to me. And look, people could play the revisionist history all they want, brother. I watch a lot of post fight, like immediate post fight reactions to the fight, including a lot of Wilder fans, right? A lot of them. Almost all of them were saying that the fight dragged on for too long. Almost all of them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There was very little complaints about the stoppage. Very few. Okay. Very few. So
Yeah, it wasn't much. Thank you. Boxing Lodges United. Make sure you guys subscribe to his channel. Breland won't sue Wilder because deep down he cares about him and feels sorry for him at the same time. Also, I think the industry doesn't believe Wilder, so it won't hurt future work. Yeah, that's a great point. And you know, that's a great point. It's a great point. You know, Breland seems like anyone that's known him, even the people that I know personally that box, that know him personally, they all said the same thing. It's just like they all were like, he's like the last person that would do anything like that to you. You know, like the whole, when it comes to the whole spiking water allegations, you know, he's like the last person they would expect. Like he's one of the nicest, most genuine people you can ever meet and be around, you know. And it kind of bothered me, you know, and I think it bothered a lot of people. I mean, some people that just hate Wilder were just going to jump in and on the opportunity. But I think there's a lot of people that I know that know him, and they're like, ah, man, that couldn't have been him. Like,
brother,
I don't know where this is coming from.
I know a lot of people that, for whatever reason, like at first they were like on Breland's side, right? They were like, "Oh, Breland wouldn't have done that. Why is Wilder saying that?" You know what I mean? Oh no, let me take that back. At first, we're on Breland's side about the towel, right? No, I'm okay with the stoppage. We have to stop it. I understand he had a pact, whatever, right? I know some that felt this way, but for some reason, when the drugging allegations came out, like they flipped. They were like, "Oh, that's why he threw in the towel because he drugged them and he felt guilty." Like that was our argument, right? Which is strange. How do you go from supporting the guy to now this accusation's made, and you just believe the accusation, and because of that, now you think him throwing in the towel is bullshit? Doesn't make sense.
I had to repost this. Yeah, well, that's been my point all this time, Mr. Yak.
Yeah.
This fight was scheduled. I think one of this guy, what's this guy named Killer or something 911. He was leaving a bunch of comments like this fight was ridiculous to make, and I'm like, yeah, this fight was agreed upon in the beginning of it all back in 2019. That these guys agreed for a 2-fight deal, and we were getting 2 fights anyway. This is why I did not make one single video on Joshua versus Fury, because I knew that there was a chance that that wasn't going to happen. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel right about it. Like the way they were moving, and just some great stuff on social media, some banter between the two camps. But like, yo, what's up with this arbitration thing? Like, what's going on with this? Like, I know they agreed by the end of last year. I know they had a deadline. But we had COVID last year. Everything was shut down. You can't possibly think that we're just going to just ignore the fight when they agreed on the 3rd fight. It's not going to happen that way.
Yeah, I went on record saying that undisputed fight was not going to happen.
Yeah, it wasn't going to happen, man. I don't know why people got worked up with that. Nah.
Never believed it. Why. And just rule of thumb, if every week they're telling you that it's imminent and any moment it's going to be official, usually those fights never happen.
Yeah.
Usually don't hear anything, and then it's official. Remember Pacquiao Spence, even Mayweather Pacquiao, when it was finally made, they just kind of announced it. You know what I mean? Like,
you're right. Good point.
Yeah,
that happens a lot. It's the ones that we just get. There's no build up to it. Remember when we found out about Broner and Porter? It just came out of nowhere. It was so random.
Yeah.
Like Adrian Broner's gonna fight Sean Porter. They're gonna put Broner against Sean Porter. That's
Right.
crazy. I was shocked. There was no rumors of it. They just put it out.
They just put it out, you know. I'm not saying you can't ever hear a rumor and then it happens, but usually it's like the first rumor and then it happens. It's not like
Yeah,
this one, bro. They dragged it on for months. Like, oh, they've verbally agreed to it. Okay, that doesn't mean shit to me. Okay,
that's
they
build up for
verbally.
the. That's the build up for the real fight. That's not that fight.
Yeah. Like, okay,
That's like
like they
Ryan
verbally
Garcia.
agreed.
Ryan Garcia. All his fights after Luke Campbell it was bullshit.
Yeah, they were all bullshit. Like, you know what I mean? Oh, I'm gonna fight
Pacquiao.
Pacquiao. Like, we
Yeah,
verbally
come on,
agreed.
bro.
Like, well, okay, that doesn't mean shit in boxing, brother.
Manny
Verbal shit don't mean
Pacquiao is
nothing.
not fighting you, bro. Yo,
I verbally agreed. Like, come on.
like nah.
Like, since when is money involved and they verbally agree? Like, that's not a thing, bro. Okay.
Yeah,
But especially in boxing. So, I find that very, very interesting. Like it was like they dragged it on too, and then they were saying they went from like it's close to happening, oh, it's imminent, oh, it's pretty much official. It just they just can't announce it yet.
Yeah,
Wait, what? Like, you know what I mean? Oh, we just don't have a site yet. They're working on the site, so it's not
Right.
made yet. You know,
Right. What do you think about the undercard here on this fight?
I like
What do you
it.
think?
I'm looking forward to the FA Jabba against Frank Sanchez fight.
Yeah,
You
me
know,
too.
I think
I
that's
don't
a
know who's winning that
classic
one.
boxer versus puncher fight. You know,
Yeah.
can't wait. And I'm picking Sanchez, but I found the weigh-ins interesting. He was heavier than FA. You know what I mean?
I also looked like right before we started,
Yeah.
Sanchez actually just recently started coming in heavier.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
don't know what that's about.
I don't know what that's about, or like, neither one of them have fought like real top guys yet
Right.
or anything like that. But Sanchez, and I'm trying to pull up his thing now. Sanchez weighed in 237 a few months back, so he's around where he was now. But before that, he was always under 230. In fact, he kept growing. Sanchez actually weighed in just above 200 most of his pro career, which has only been a few years. That made me feel like, I know people will start having jokes about his age and stuff. Like people are like, he's 40, because he's Cuban and he does look a little older. But I believe his age, man, this guy has weighed just 200 pounds just a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
he's growing.
bro, I remember I was joking saying like after this he's gonna go for the Bridgerweight title. I don't know now. Like 240 pounds, bro. He's heavier than Wilder, bro. So in my prediction, I remember I said if Sanchez cannot keep Efe off of him, like if Efe can just walk through his punches, he's in trouble. Like Efe's gonna knock him out, right? So I wonder if not because he listened to my video, but if they just strategically know that, you know what I mean? Like we need to be able to sit on our punch, and maybe they've kind of calculated like we can give up a little bit of speed in order to add power, right? To keep Efe honest. You know what I mean? I think that's the strategy. Is it going to work? I'm not that confident anymore. I thought it's going to be around 220 some.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. Well, first of all, I was never. Shout out to Punch Drunk Boxing, bro. Thank you for the donation, man. What's up, my brothers? God bless. Face Off was weak by network. Next, just have a Zoom call. You know what? I'm glad he said that because I did find it a little strange how they did the weigh-ins. First of all, they was just these long gaps between the undercard that's not on a pay-per-view. Then they had another, hour before the next one, which was showing the undercard of the main card. And then they had another gap leading up to the Wilder and Fury. And they didn't even they didn't do anything. They just stepped on a scale. They interviewed them real quick. And that was it. I don't know. I think they're trying
100%. I didn't like that they didn't do it because they did a face-off in the first press conference and nothing happened.
Yeah.
Like literally, they just stared at each other for like, what was it, like 10 minutes or some shit like that?
Yeah, worry about the Caleb Plant Canelo situation.
Yeah, but like in other words, all you do is tell these guys, right? Like, first of all, look, man, I know they're meatheads and they're jocks, but they're not stupid. You know what I mean? Like, they're not gonna get in a fist fight. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it possible that Fury pushes him again? Because he did do it at the first weigh-in, right? Yes. Okay. But nobody's saying have them nose to nose. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just put put Lennox Lewis right in the middle. They're not gonna swing at Lennox Lewis. Okay. Have somebody right in the middle, or maybe one with one, do the face off, okay? Let them talk smack, or just do what they did in the Mayorga Vargas fight, okay? That big glass and shit. There's enough of those things around in the casinos because of COVID and all that. Just get one of those, have them on one side and the other, and they could do a face off.
Yeah.
Come on. Plus, just think about this, Wave. Imagine if they had like real cops like separating them. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And they're just like facing each other off, but they have to be separated by fucking security or cops, or you know what I mean? Like with riot gear or some shit. Like, just imagine like that visual. Like, I think that would pump people up, bro. Like, holy fuck, this dude's had to be separated by the fucking SWAT team, Like, they could have come up with a lot of ideas, Just I don't know, like, come on, Bob. It's Bob's fault. I blame Bob.
Bob, man, I seen him on the side kicking it to them little models, man. I was watching him, the little short man talking to these beautiful women at the I was like, what is he saying to them? I'll always be curious. Like, I'm sure he's very professional, but it's just funny looking at him like with his arms around them. Like, I just be curious on what he says at these things.
I wonder if he does like the Larry Merchant, like
he get on my nerves.
I was 50 years younger.
Yeah. I'm just like, he's an old man. Like, he's been around forever. Like, he's been around for every major fight. Like,
come on,
he's an old man. He gets on my nerves sometimes, especially when it comes to the politics. But he's Bob, man. You still like kind of you have to love him, in a way. Like, just seeing Bob there, and it's like everyone.
I can't give him the old man pass,
Yeah, he's an old man, and I'm just like that way with seniors, period. Even when they say
like
things,
crazy senior citizen, like,
yeah, he's this old man, and it's like whatever,
Like, what if he was in the middle of these two dudes? Like, they're not gonna like shove Bob Arum, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, that would be crazy. That would be like some Clever Lang shit, right? With Mickey,
yeah.
Like, they're not gonna do that, bro. Like, look,
he's gonna move off slowly and stand in between them. Now, if Eddie is there, I feel like they're not gonna care if Eddie's there.
Yeah.
Because Eddie always goes in the middle and he does his pose, and he's all tall and shit.
Bro,
I feel like they would push Eddie out of the way. I don't know.
All you gotta do is get a legend or two, like Lennox Lewis, and get another guy, right? Tyson or something, and have them in the middle of the two guys. You know what I mean? Like, they could do a lot of things, man. But or the plexiglass thing that I mentioned. Just do that.
Yeah.
What
do you think about the Kanowski fight and Helenius rematch? Who do you got winning?
I gotta be honest. I see the same thing happening. I think Helenius is gonna stop him again. Kanowski came in better shape, but I gotta tell you right now, I've never been impressed with Kanowski. Ever.
Yeah, he's
I've never been impressed with him. Man. I dropped $300 on Ariola, trying to win 3,000. I thought Ariola had an excellent shot, and you know what? He was piecing up Kawanaki at times, and he just Ariola was lacking a little bit of pop in that fight. I wish he had some of the pop he had in the Ruiz fight.
Yeah, but Ariola was going to war with him, whereas like Helenius was timing them right hands perfectly. Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna throw a lot, but these shits that I land are gonna hurt. I'm gonna make every single one of these count. Why are you coming in and you're slugging? Listen, you're gonna beat me every round. But those shots that he connected with every single time made them count. Yeah, and he put this dude down, man. You can't just keep walking through all these. That's what I was gonna
say. I felt like he was just on the next level. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where Helenius goes from here, because I do believe he's going to win this fight again. But I don't know where he goes from here, because he can't beat the top guys, right? But he can't fight a guy at the level of Kanowski. So where does he go from here? I don't know. Maybe Andy Ruiz or something. You know what I mean?
It puts him back in the mix with, like, one of those guys that, maybe they're not trying to get like the next, like maybe not like a title shot or anything, but for the guys that are looking for an opponent and looking for sorry with the background, that's looking for someone to face next, Andy Ruiz would be like another one of those guys. I mean, he came back, he's with Eddie Reynoso now. He lost all the weight, but didn't look good against Areola at all, and I think maybe the Hellenius fight could, get some sort of credibility that he might have lost. Because a lot of people feel that they lost respect for him because of the Joshua rematch, coming in overweight like that, and then not looking good against Areola. Eddie Morales, thank you for the donation. Hey, Wave, did you see Bob Arum talking crap about Fox and Kate Abdo? He also kicked out Mike Coppinger. I saw all of that, and I don't care. Like, I saw it, and it just,
Well,
I'm
he
like,
was.
all right,
You don't
Bob
think
is
he owes
going
an
nuts.
apology to Kate? You don't think he should apologize at least?
I think he should. Yeah, I think he should. But I saw it, and then I didn't think about it anymore. It's just like one of those things. Like, I think he should apologize because the rant was just, I don't know what his beef with Mike Coppinger though. Like, I saw that too, and I was like,
Because he
maybe
told
he
him he
just
lowballed
dislikes him.
Lopez.
Yeah, I don't. But that sounded like that was like maybe they had a difference in some kind of issue before. I don't think that was the
He could
first
have just
time.
told him, Mike, you don't know what you're talking about. Just left it at that.
Yeah.
Right.
The thing with Kate was over the top though. Like sometimes he goes on his rants, and sometimes they are warranted, but that wasn't the time. Like, it was totally random, and sometimes he just goes on these long rants. Like,
She got him. She got Wilder to talk.
yeah,
Like,
Wilder was not going to talk, man.
Yeah, like she got him to talk. Like, what else do you want her? Don't you want him to talk to sell the fight? Even Fury wanted him to talk.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, though. I'm mad at Aaron for it, but like at the same time, it makes me laugh. Like, it's just one of those weird, like this crazy old man. It's just. It's like if you're walking down the street and an old man tells you can whoop your ass, like you're just gonna hear him and keep walking.
Yeah, that's like when what's his name said that to Floyd.
Merchant, yeah.
Merchant, yeah. Like, if I was whatever amount of years younger, I'll kick your ass. You ain't kicking shit. You ain't gonna do shit. Yo, I think I was watching that like a few weeks ago. Like, I was watching one of those YouTube videos where they just put all the like craziest press conferences or whatever post-fight interviews, and that came up. And that's always funny. Like, I miss HBO. I just miss HBO. Something about HBO was just special.
Yeah. They knew what they were doing. Like,
I miss the presentation, like everything. I mean, I couldn't stand. Yeah, Jim and Larry would have their biases, but I still miss that team. I miss listening to Roy Jones with them. Like, they were my favorite. Like, I miss that. It just felt special, like listening to them. It was what we knew, grew up watching from childhood.
Yeah, I remember like it gave a home for certain type of fights too. That like you knew what type of fights you were going to get on Boxing After Dark. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You knew the type of fights you were going to get on World Championship Boxing, and you knew the type of fights you were going to get on HBO pay-per-view. Like, it was a tier system, and then below Boxing After Dark, you had like Showbox, but other network, and then below that you had like the Friday Night Fights, and there was a tier for every level of boxing.
Yeah,
we've lost that. Like, that's gone. Like now we will see like the most random cards with like the main events. Like, okay, like, you know what I mean? Like, look at these trailer pay-per-views. I mean, HBO would never do a pay-per-view like that.
Yeah,
it wouldn't happen because they wanted to keep. You know what HBO did? They made boxing feel prestigious. That's the best word I got. It made it feel prestigious. So they would never put a Logan Paul on one of their cards. You know what I mean? They wouldn't have done, not in the main event. It wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. Do you think Jared Anderson has a shot to be, I mean, he's only 21, but what do you think? Like, do you think that
Big
he's
baby.
gonna be on the card too? You think it's just too early to call?
Well, one, I love the fact that he is on the card. I mean, I
Hmm.
remember this is what Don King would do. He would put like the future, right, the present, and like the championship fight. You know what I mean? It was kind of the way he would like set it up. So I like the fact that he's on this card. I don't know anything about his opponent. I'll be straight up. So I don't know, right?
Yeah, no, I looked him up. There's not much out there. There's not
Yeah.
much, and
So
he
the
he,
record
he
looks
hasn't fought
good.
in
He's
years.
undefeated, right?
He hasn't fought in 2 years though. It's been two
Okay,
years.
wow. So, but at least he'll be showcased. Look, he
Mhm.
he has like he looks the part, right?
Yeah, he
In the
does.
ring. I mean, he's phenomenal. But I mean, we'll see. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to kind of gauge it right now, to be honest. Like, I'm high on Frank Sanchez, but now I'm unsure because of the weight he's at. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what about him? What about you think Jared Anderson's ready for, like, let's say Helenius or Kawanaki, whoever wins that fight? You think he's ready for the winner of that fight,
I
or maybe a couple
mean,
more?
I think just a couple more. But if the fight were to happen, like let's say he fought the winner of that fight,
Mhm.
I wouldn't be surprised if he dominates them.
Yeah,
But I think that would just be too soon of a jump. They don't move that way, with guys like him.
right, right,
You
right.
know, they don't move. They move like Edgar Berlanga. I was asking about him next. He's going to be on this undercard too. I don't know if it's going to be televised though, but Edgar
Well,
is going
whatever's
to
not
be
on pay
fighting.
per view will be on ESPN Plus, I believe. So,
I hope so. Yeah, because
right,
I want to see those other cards too. You got
yeah.
Julian Williams on there, but again, I expect him to move him just like the way they're moving Edgar Berlanga. I think it's just slowly building. It doesn't matter how good you look now. Let's continue to develop. You're in your younger 20s is no reason to really rush. Get your knockouts. Not
Mhm.
everyone has to have a championship fight within 10
Well,
fights.
well, it's like this, right? The Lomachenko people were very confident it was going to be Salido, right?
I thought he was going to beat him too.
If they would have just waited 3 or 4 more fights, they would have beat Salido. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So I think that's what it is. It's like, okay, we're confident you'll win, but we want to be really confident. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's kind of like they don't take that leap until they've like no stone is unturned now,
right,
and that's
right.
what it is. But yeah, I mean, there's no reason to rush them, really. Like, there's no
Nah,
reason to
and
rush
let
them.
them develop, learn things. Let them get caught. Like put them in there with different fighters, pressure fighters, stuff like that. That can give you, like you gotta get different looks, and
Yep.
that's what I think. That's how a fighter really develops. And the problem with Lomachenko at that time is that yes, he came in as the greatest amateur, but he still looked very inexperienced against Alito. With all that
Yep.
experience he had, he still looked very inexperienced against Alito. You know,
Yep.
Salido knew what to do. They're like, okay, you know what? Yes, this kid is young. He's explosive, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to come in weighing like a welterweight and I'm going to hit him in the nuts over and over again. And
Roughed them up.
that's it. Like, I'm going to beat you up. And Lomachenko had too much respect for him. And then what? What happened to Gary Russell? Gary Russell was his next opponent. He said, I'm going to be exactly what I should have been in my last fight. But see, it took you to lose a fight to change. Now you're a lot more aggressive.
Yeah.
Gary Russell had to deal with that.
Well, what's funny that sometimes a loss will help you improve faster than if you never lost, right? So
Yes.
like that's what people don't think about. That's
I
why I
said
don't
this
even
recently. Yep.
trip about. That's why I don't know why guys worry about their and like I think we're coming off the Mayweather era, and it's like anything. When Ali was on top,
Walking
and
into
Ali was on top, he retired. A lot of heavyweights started doing what? They started to fight like Muhammad Ali, right? So it's the same thing now. Mayweather, he was on top, right? So a lot of guys want to emulate what Money Mayweather did, undefeated, and then they saw the money he made. So we're seeing a lot of that, but I'm hoping that if that starts to not work for guys and they start seeing that, like, hopefully the sport of boxing rewards the fighters that take chances and maybe do get a loss, but they bounce back. They maybe avenge a loss or something like that, and rewards guys like that. Maybe they won't be so insecure about losing a stupid zero, and to start jumping in there, because that would be better for us as fans, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. All right, listen, we're gonna close this out. D-Style, it's real quick. How do you see the fight going tomorrow, man? What's your official prediction, real quick?
In a couple sentences, I could say this. I think Tyson Fury will fight somewhat of a hybrid style of how he fought the first fight and the second fight. It will be out of necessity. I think he will start off fast. I think he will try to blitz Wilder. I think Wilder is going to be more prepared this time, provide more resistance to Fury. I think Wilder's going to utilize the jab a little more in this fight, and that's going to help him with that. I do think he'll land a couple right hands on Fury. He might give Fury a scary moment. And because of that, I see Fury kind of transitioning to how he fought the second fight in the second half of that fight. The first fight, I'm sorry, in the second half of the fight, and start boxing instead of going at him. Once he realizes he's not going to take him out of there, I got Fury winning, unanimous decision, something like an 8-4 on the scorecard type of deal.
Gotcha. I got it the opposite. I actually have Wilder coming out being explosive and Fury fighting similar to how he fought in the first fight early. I think he's going to be down a couple rounds early, okay, because Wilder is going to be doing more work. And then at some point, Fury's going to change and start walking them down, fighting similar as he is in a rematch. I think Wilder's going to be the aggressor because he wants to show that, he wants to come back and be stronger, more powerful, and fight a different fight, and being more aggressive. And I think Fury is going to be more on the defensive end for the most part. And then after a couple rounds, Fury is going to turn it around and start walking them down and using his size like he did in a rematch. And I'm still thinking that it's going to go to decision, man. I don't think it's going to be a stoppage this time. I think it's going to be a decision, man. I think Wilder, regardless, I think Wilder's going to lose, but I think Wilder's going to survive and do better this time around in the second fight. All right,
that could be the bad guy for a little bit. What if it's a draw? What then?
I don't know.
What if this saga continues and they take it to a best out of 7? We got to deal with it for the next 3 or 4 years.
I think if it's another draw, then they're gonna move on, do what else they got to do. Fury's gonna still be champ, and Wilder is going to, do his thing, probably fight somebody else. But I told guys the other day, I think the Wilder Joshua fight is more possible now since they both lost. They both have losses on their records, and it's still a big financial, Joshua loses. I know he's going to fight Usyk again, but if he does lose to Usyk again, I think that fight will be on the table. I believe it now. Wow. I believe it more than I ever did. So I think a Fury fight, if it is a draw, I think a Fury 4th fight, maybe down the line. It really, really depends, man. I don't know, but I can't see it's not going to be an immediate 4th fight. I see Dillian White getting his shot if he beats Wallin, and seeing the undisputed with the winner of Usyk and Joshua. That's the way I got it. All right. Yo, listen, everybody, make sure you follow Dstyleboxing. Subscribe to Dstyleboxing. All right. And, I'm always on his channel. He always has a great podcast, a great show weekly. Definitely check him out. D-Style, you close it out real quick.
Hey, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Subscribe to my channel if you liked what I had to say at Dstyleboxing here on YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter as well, on at Dstyleboxing as well. So I want to thank you again, man, for having me on. Check out my podcast every Tuesday, Hispanic Causing Panic, and the Roundtable every Thursday as well.
Got you. All right. Later.